Today is Friday, September the 21st, 2018. Hello, and welcome to Weekly Astrology Notes for the week of September the 23rd through the 30th, 2018. Highlights for this week. Well, I'm going to start off this week with the Autumnal Equinox, which is actually happening on Saturday the 22nd, early in the evening. On Sunday, we got Mercury square Saturn in the morning, kind of slows us down, but Mercury trine Mars in the afternoon picks us up. Kind of a nice contrast of Mercury aspects. Then on Monday, we've got the moon in Aries, the full moon, I should say. It's going to be energetic and confrontational. And then we've got a long moon void of course that actually starts on Sunday in the evening and continues until Monday in the afternoon. And that'll be the first of 3 long moon void of courses this week. On Tuesday, Sun square Saturn. It's going to make life seem a bit hard. Time to restructure something in your life. And then we've got another long moon void of course on Wednesday. On Thursday, things get a little bit better with the Sun trine Mars. Gives us courage and daring, desire to test your limits. And on Friday, we've got a productive morning with the moon trine Pluto, and fun in the afternoon with the moon opposition Jupiter, and then a void of course until Saturday morning. And on Saturday, we should be pretty active with the moon in Gemini, and the moon forms a grand trine in air signs with the Sun and Mars in the evening. And that's going to make Saturday night festivities really good. An excellent night for social endeavors, a great party night. And you'll have the opportunity to sleep it off with another long void of course starting Sunday morning, and this one's going to last 32 hours until the following Monday afternoon. So that one is like Sunday and Monday void of course, just really long. As well, Pluto is going to go direct on Sunday, and I got some things to say about that. And at the end of the video, I'm going to go over transits for Hillary and Rosenstein. Once again, the big transits for them coming up this week, and also a lot going on with Donald Trump. So let's get started with the equinox. So this one's happening in the early evening on Saturday the 22nd. We've got an interesting mix of aspects as we move into the autumn season, and these are in effect basically for the next 3 months. So we'll start out with the nice stuff. We got Sun conjunct Mercury in Libra here, diplomatic and good at expressing your opinions. I would say a good time for relationships and discussion about that. And the trines to Mars here at 3 degrees Aquarius, it's pretty close. Gives us lots of energy and daring to explore the limits of your abilities. And I notice here the moon trine Venus right at the start of the autumn. It's pretty close, Scorpio to Pisces, and that one gives us the ability to express your feelings as well as resolve psychological issues, and more of that same quality with Venus and Jupiter trining Neptune. We're able to communicate well and resolve issues of deep importance. And now for the hard stuff. As you can probably see, a big T-square here. Sun and Mercury squaring Saturn, and they also Saturn squaring Chiron there. So it's part of a T-square. So this one's going to make life seem kind of hard this season, as we're forced to restructure our lives in some way, do with less, and forced to make the most out of what we have. Cut things out that aren't working for us in the long term. And the T-square with Venus, Mars, and Uranus, I've spoken about this quite a bit. It's brought a lot of things up to the surface, confrontations and social battles, upheavals, and a lot of things regarding the sex trafficking and the pedophile networks. And I'm thinking that guys like Keith Rainier, the leader of Nexium, the sex cult, he's going to get exposed even more. I got some transits I'm going to go over with him coming up pretty soon. But basically, authority is going to remain in a good position with regards to this T-square, because we still have Saturn with the sextile to Venus and Saturn with the trine to Uranus. So authority is still in a good position to take advantage of the upheaval that comes from the T-square, although not so much so with the upheaval that comes from the T-square with Sun and Mercury opposition Uranus, both squaring Saturn. That one puts a lot of pressure on authority because Saturn is at the pressure point of that T-square. And that's going to translate to a serious test of authority and of respect for the office of authority or the officers who hold authority. Direct challenge to authority figures who are then forced to use extreme measures to protect not just themselves, but the offices that they hold. Diplomacy will have to be balanced with force. That causes pain because there's going to be a lot of head-to-head confrontations coming from these oppositions to Chiron. Now, for the rest of us, with these oppositions to Chiron, it's going to bring up a lot of pain within each of us, pain in the community. And if you're not already, you need to become part of the active healing community, those who are actively trying to make things better and bring solutions and healing. And because we're all responsible on some level for the mess society is in, and we're all going to feel it a lot this season. Confrontations and violence that authority cannot stop. In this case, authority is getting squared on both sides, so it's kind of left out of the picture, very limited in its ability to deal with the confrontation from these oppositions. So you're going to have to deal with it yourself. People are going to have to take responsibility. And in that case, it means taking responsibility for healing the community. And just as a side note, Mercury opposition Chiron in the natal chart loves a drum circle. And it's that kind of idea where we need to come together and discuss the issues of the community that need addressing and healing. And also, I think, kind of intense, starting off this season, is you'll see these quincunx aspects from Sun and Mercury to Uranus at 1 degree of Taurus. Now, this is going to add to the Saturn squares, in a sense, because it's going to produce a rather fixed mentality. With the Sun quincunx Uranus, folks think they know it all, that they're higher-minded, that they're very evolved and above it all, can think abstractly and all that sort of stuff. But the Sun square Saturn means they demand respect for their opinions at the same time. So it's more challenges to authority by folks taking power into their own hands, revolutionary acts, open defiance against authority and tradition and the offices of authority. Going to give us the energy to act in bold new ways, though, make a lot of changes. Mercury quincunx Uranus is very enlightening, actually, very evolutionary, able to think in the abstract and get involved in the community. Generally speaking, the quincunx brings the need for a precise adjustment. And since it's so close and so strong with the Mercury added to it, I'd say we're in for one of those this season. We're going to get swept up in a moment of collective karma. Now, those of you who regularly view my channel, I've associated the quincunx with false flag events. I'm not necessarily predicting that because, we've had so many of these quincunxes in these major event charts lately. It just keeps on saying the same thing over and over again. We're getting swept up in a moment of collective karma, moved along by the ambitions of others, waiting for things to get resolved. But with the Saturn trine Uranus, I think that once again, Saturn, or authority, is in a good position to take advantage of the situation. As I've been saying, an old dog learns new tricks. They're going to have to make some adjustments. So it looks for a pretty intense coming season with a lot of tests for Saturn and authority. Okay, moving along. It started with Sunday, the 23rd. We'll start in the morning with the Mercury square Saturn. That'll be 2 degrees of Libra to 2 degrees of Capricorn. So we're very focused as we experience a crisis to gain more information, as if it were necessary for your very survival. Makes us very determined, able to work hard, very practical and mundane, but it does bring up insecurities, uncertainty about your opinions and whether they're valid, existing issues where you find it hard to communicate, especially with your partner, and other important issues come to the surface. Kind of makes it hard to think outside of the box like all Saturn squares do. They can lead to depression as well. As usual, the best bet is to live in the present moment, not worry about the future, and beware of judgmental attitudes. Challenges for relationships, because it's in Libra, seem more limiting today. Issues may come up related to how much time you have with your partner versus how much time you spend with your career. That's the typical Libra to Capricorn square, and also secrets can be revealed. It's kind of interesting to note that this is the aspect that is so notable in Hillary Clinton's chart, and the same aspect which reflects her politics, and the same aspect which is getting highlighted by Jupiter this week. Just kind of all that synchronicity seems to be coming into play. And then for the moon aspects on Sunday, in the morning, we've got the very nice moon conjunct Neptune. Quite a contrast to the Mercury aspect. This one has us feeling very sensitive, compassionate, and vulnerable, a desire to escape into fantasy. And then in the early evening, moon sextile Pluto. Deep emotions, a desire for a strong commitment needs to be expressed as service or dedication to others, because it's that fourth quadrant sextile of philanthropy, desire to help others, help transform the life of others in a profound way. And like the Pluto sextiles, as usual, they bring disruptions, but usually for the better. And I think they probably will be for the better, because by this time in the evening, the Mercury trine Mars aspect is coming to life. And this one will be 3 degrees of Libra to 3 degrees of Aquarius. So Mars gives life and inspiration to lots of air. Aspect makes you want to fly. Good aspect for a pilot in their natal chart. You need to be outside, get lots of fresh air to express this aspect to its fullest. Lots of intellectual energy, talking, writing, doing things with your hands. Desire to display your skill using your hands. Test the limits of your abilities with your hands, dexterity, and things like that. A good time to work on any projects that you've got going. It's an excellent aspect for musical performers. Gives lots of agility, ability to change directions with ease. In Aquarius as well, we'll see lots of discussion about social matters, social reform, political debate and discussions. Desire to get involved in the community. Overall, it's a pretty lively aspect. Should make Sunday night pretty enjoyable. As well, to add to that enjoyment, we've got the moon trine Jupiter. Makes us very open-hearted, pleasant disposition, compassionate, able to overcome psychological issues, and be at ease with yourself and others. It's a great aspect for social occasions, because we've got all this healing energy going on with the moon in Pisces. And then we've got a long void, of course. It's going to start Sunday night and continue all the way until late Monday afternoon. Neptune moon enters Aries in the afternoon, so we're more energetic for the next couple of days. Usually a time to start new projects, but not much of an opportunity this time around, because moon in Aries, it starts late on Monday. Not the best accompanying aspects on Tuesday. And then we've got this really long void, of course, happening on Wednesday. On Tuesday, and then this really long void, of course, on Wednesday. And we've got the full, but it should be a pretty active Monday evening with the full moon happening in the evening. So it's the harvest full moon. It seems to be a bit earlier than usual this year. The full moon is a time when our energies typically are running high, as we reach a point of climax in this lunar cycle, which began 2 weeks ago at the new moon. And recall that was the new moon in Virgo. It's been keeping us busy. We had a grand trine in Earth, the opposition to Neptune, and that T-square, Venus, Mars, and Uranus. So this has been an important moon cycle, and if you've been successful thus far, then you're going to have an extra dose of self-confidence at this new moon. Really good things could start happening for you now. Lots of success. The strong desire energy from Aries and the Sun make this a very active full moon. Lots of confidence and daring and physical energy. Aries to Libra brings men and women together. Desire to make a relationship happen. And it definitely should bring couples together. The highs and lows could be a bit more extreme than usual, so use a bit more caution with this full moon. With these squares to Saturn going on at the full moon, that means sometimes judgment and tradition is kind of thrown out the window. We forget our responsibilities, but then suddenly reality comes crashing in and we say, oh my gosh, I really didn't realize what my responsibilities were there. So that's going to be an interesting mix with this strong desire energy being hemmed in by all of these Saturn squares. And the moon square Saturn also happening on Monday evening. And this one slows you down, reminds you of your limitations, not as flexible or optimistic as usual, not sure how to react to others. And then late in the evening, the moon sextile Mars, and this one is a bit of a pickup because you get more physical energy. And moving along to Tuesday, the 25th, we're going to start early in the morning, actually before sunrise. The moon opposition Mercury gives us a restless mind. Unconscious impulses interfere with normal communication. Careful what you say or how you say it. May come off as aggressive when that's not in your intention, because the moon in Aries. Especially with the Sun square Saturn today, we're a little bit inhibited, not sure of ourselves. That one will be 2 degrees of Libra to 2 degrees of Capricorn. Self-expression feels a bit inhibited today. We're more aware of what's not working, to produce long-term results in our lives. So you may feel the desire to restructure something in your life to help you in the long run. Self-confidence is a bit low. We're kind of doubting ourselves. We're reevaluating and reprioritizing. May not be as expressive as usual. More concerned about your long-term needs. May not be as emotionally available for others as usual. Able to stay focused, though, and get a lot of work done. Might be a bit stubborn, insist on doing things your own way. You know, yours is the best way. You're the master, you're the Saturn. And that can produce some conflict, especially in relationships. But really in all one-to-one encounters, we're feeling a little bit limited and unsure. Reputation for everyone is really vital at this time. We tend to live and die by it on the Saturn squares. So folks are a bit stoic and reserved, very concerned about their reputation, and will defend it vigorously, especially in matters of fairness and principle. Libra is really good at arguing when it comes to matters of fairness. Generally, it's not a good time for social endeavors on Tuesday, although it is a good aspect for working hard and seeing a job through to the finish. And then we've got a long void of course starting early in the morning on Wednesday. It starts with the moon square Pluto. This one gives us intense emotions, uneasy, weary of others' hidden motives. Emotional bonds severed for a short time as we're more concerned about money and career. Just kind of isolate ourselves. Yet can be a very productive time because it brings a lot of stamina. And then that long void of course begins. So Wednesday is just not a day to start new projects. And that void of course will end just after midnight on Thursday when the moon enters Taurus. We're more steadfast for the next couple of days, preferring to continue on projects already started, more focus on our material possessions and money matters in need of sensual comfort, and it's always a good time for a massage. Nice aspects happening in the morning on Thursday, the moon conjunct Uranus, Gets us a bit lively, feeling ambitious, looking for a change of scenery, something out of the norm. Moods change suddenly and sometimes without reason. Time to break free, but the trine to Saturn is going to give us grounding. So probably not so much earthly, focused on mundane matters, duty and responsibility, material enterprises. So that should keep us grounded pretty well with the moon in Taurus in the morning. As well, we're going to have the moon square Mars on Thursday morning. So you're going to watch out for this one. Makes us impulsive, temperamental, and a delicate stomach. So be careful what you eat. Taurus to Aquarius. Personal possessions versus what the group values. You know, your values is Taurus and the group's values, that's Aquarius. So sometimes you feel like the group asks too much for you, from this aspect. Forced to work with a group in a way that is not comfortable for you. And it also tends to bring up get-rich-quick ideas. And we're going to get a lot of inspiration on Thursday because we got the Sun trine Mars. This is a great aspect. This one will be 4 degrees of Libra to 4 degrees of Aquarius. So creative expression gets a boost of confidence from Mars, makes us courageous, a desire to explore the limits of your creative and physical abilities, a bit daring, desire to see what you're capable of. It's in air signs, so this energy needs to be expressed through some activity that engages and expands the mind. Mars in Aquarius has a really sharp mind, very witty, can think quickly and adapt. Those qualities are in harmony with the intellectual and diplomatic Sun in Libra, making for excellent use of the mind, writing, drawing, composing music, unique self-expression, makes for lively conversations and one-to-one exchanges, excellent aspect for artistic expression and artistic performances. The refined Libra Sun gets all the energy and confidence necessary for great performances, concert and dance, ballet, things like that. Also great aspect for romance and relationships and any group-oriented activities. A fun aspect that encourages you to enjoy your physical body. Best spent outside where you can feel the fresh air. Mars in Aquarius has some really big moments already with the square to Uranus, and that has done a lot to liberate us already from old worn-out patterns of behavior by redirecting the ego towards a higher purpose, which is what Aquarius is, our more evolved self. So this could be a really liberating pass of Sun trine Mars. Looking forward to this one. Should make Thursday a really lively day, especially in the evening when it's exact, or late afternoon. Okay, moving into Friday the 28th. We start in the middle of the night with the moon sextile Neptune. Very dreamy. Enjoy your dreams. You might want to recall them when you wake up. Also, it's a good time for a massage or working with crystals because the sensual earth energy of Taurus mixed in with the elements of the spiritual plane from Pisces is really great for that sort of thing. Very dreamy. And also a very productive aspect on Friday in the middle of the morning, moon trine Pluto in earth signs brings opportunity for a change for the better. Your energy or your chi is more concentrated and focused on a meaningful goal. Very productive. You know, the moon is exalted in Taurus, and this trine to Pluto just really gives us a big boost of confidence for all of our material goals. Good time to connect with people who can help you, especially financially. Opportunities for material success, and a good time for business. And then in the mid-afternoon on Friday, we've always got the very enjoyable moon opposition Jupiter. Emotions expand as we need to connect with others in a positive, upbeat way. Prone to extravagance, especially in these signs. A lot of luxury spending. Good time for business, but poor financial judgment. My guess is that the psychic hotline is really busy now, as folks are more willing to spend money on esoteric things, Scorpio things. Search for hidden knowledge. But generally speaking, it just really expands us, and we want to be in a party and meet others. And then we've got a void, of course, And this one's not too long, although it will last from the mid-afternoon on Friday until Saturday morning. So we're kind of moving about without direction on Friday evening, but with the moon in Taurus, probably find a nice, comfortable place to be. Moving into the weekend, and Saturday on the morning, 29th, moon enters Gemini. So we're going to be more mentally active for the next couple of days. All the intellectual qualities of moon and Gemini get a great chance to shine this evening because the moon's going to be part of a grand trine involving the Sun and Mars. We start in the late afternoon with the moon trine Mars, Gemini to Aquarius. This is fantastic, starting about 3 p.m. and lasting until about 8 p.m. Pacific time. We have a very creative moment as the moon is now part of a grand trine in air with the Sun and Mars. So mark your calendar. Plan on some fun activities for Saturday evening. Note the moon in Gemini loves to use the hands, so something like a drum circle. I don't know why I keep saying that this time, but keeps coming to mind, would be kind of a perfect expression of this energy. But generally speaking, that's just the way that I think. You know, that it could be a lot of different things from this grand trine that'll come into your life. A great time to meet others. You notice that the moon trine Mercury is kind of getting mixed up in there as well. So it's this wonderful grand trine that makes Saturday night a good time to meet people and make connections, make new friends, and just really have a good time. So I wanted to point that one out. Mark your calendars. A good time of emotional, mental, and physical health and well-being. So take advantage of it. Could meet a lot of good people with a grand trine in air like that. Also inspires a lot of writing and creativity along those lines. And then the moon trine Sun a little bit later. This will be in the early evening. Always a great aspect, and we should take special note of them whenever they arrive. To take advantage of the opportunities. You know, even when it's not part of a grand trine. Last month when we had the moon trine Sun, it was just a great aspect, a lot of creative energy. And I really want to start pointing these ones out. Inhibitions subside, and we can let the best part of ourselves shine. Let our creativity flow. Even more lucky than usual because it's part of this grand trine. Lots of creative energy, free-flowing communication, sharing of ideas, great aspect for writing, using your hands, display of skills with your hands, love of flying, desire to fly, air signs, rises above the mundane world. It can be really intellectual. Another reminder for the air sign trines, you need some fresh air to make the most out of this aspect. Great time to make connections with others. You know, like I was saying just earlier, make friends, new associates, people who can get you someplace, you know, relationships and partnerships as well. Also a good time to make agreements and to sign contracts. So wonderful we get this aspect on a Saturday evening when we have lots of opportunities to make the most of it. Great time for social endeavors, meeting people and making a connection is much easier now. Everyone wants to make a connection. We really do not get many opportunities this good on a monthly basis. So take advantage of it. And if you do really party on Saturday, you'll probably be able to sleep in on Sunday because we've got another long void of course coming. But first we've got the moon square Neptune on Sunday, and that one will have us considering the spiritual reasons for all the things that we do. Kind of makes us easy to be deceived and desire to escape into fantasy. But shortly thereafter, the moon trine Mercury. This one's going to start with bring the longest void of course I've seen in a long time. It starts Sunday morning and continues all the way until Monday afternoon. So Sunday is a really slow day to relax, reflect, and meditate, not start any new projects. And then Pluto goes direct on Sunday. Now this is going to be kind of interesting. Been waiting for this for a while. Going to go direct at 18 degrees 45 minutes of Capricorn. It's going to be in the shadow degrees up to 21 degrees 17 minutes on January the 22nd, and it's going to continue direct up to 23 degrees 9 minutes on April the 24th of next year. So that's quite a while. Plans in the works during retrograde move forward at direct motion. And I've been waiting for this one for a while because Pluto rules police actions. I see this as one more indication that we're ready for some serious police actions against the deep state. Because that's really what we've been working on throughout this entire retrograde period, figuring out how we can bring them down. And aspects for Pluto sort of remind me of the new moon that we had back on August the 11th. Just like then, we see the moon at the tip of a yod. You'll see this here, the moon's got a quincunx to Jupiter in Scorpio and a quincunx to Pluto. So that's a lot of Pluto-Scorpio energy, a lot of regeneration moving towards the moon right at the time Pluto goes direct. And you'll see that's pretty close, quincunx, 20 degrees, 18 degrees. So it's going to be rather compulsive. Brings up compelling energies, especially with Pluto and Scorpio at the base of the yod. We feel emotionally vulnerable, carried along by the ambitions of others, easily taken advantage of, conned, hustled, and cheated. Need to isolate yourself in order to carry out the very private and personal work of self-transformation. And that's because it's all this intense Pluto-Scorpio energy on the moon, which really, that's our sensitive side. So once you overcome the abuse and face and overcome your own pitfalls and shortcomings, it gives you unparalleled ability to harness collective resources and regenerate. All that Pluto-Scorpio energy, once it's harnessed, gives incredible ability to regenerate your life emotionally, in the home, regenerate your home, and could bring a lot of changes in the home. And like I say, ability to harness that Pluto energy is just amazing, the kind of transformation you can bring. But at the same time, it kind of brings up this isolationist, survivalist mentality. So it's true not only this evening on Sunday, but really for the duration of this Pluto direct motion period. And just some thoughts to consider about this configuration with the moon, because it's under a lot of stress here with these quincunxes, but also these squares to Neptune and to Chiron. So it's going to make us very sensitive and vulnerable. So consider keeping a secret for the right reasons during this time. And this is to maintain your own integrity and prevent opposition. And this would be the negative kind of, power plays from others against you. Unfair opposition, I would say. And that's why you need to keep a secret. It's important that you not reveal your plans to the wrong people, otherwise they might try to inhibit you, even if it's just subconsciously. Wisdom and experience has taught me this. Basically, whenever we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about deep undercurrents between people, subconscious forces, and you need to protect yourself. As I mentioned earlier about Venus and Scorpio, spending a lot of time in Scorpio, it's important that we think ahead and predict what could go wrong and take preventative measures. If harnessed, this configuration gives you tremendous ability to regenerate, especially in the home. Do not underestimate the amount of tremendous energy to regenerate from Pluto and Jupiter and Scorpio that we can get during this season, this direct motion period, especially in the home. You'll need to carry out the work privately, because that kind of transformation, when you're in such a sensitive state, is something that you need to do privately and carefully. And on a macro level, we see deep forces of transformation in society, because the moon on a group level is culture. So cultural upheaval and destruction, carried along by powerful forces, swept up in a moment of collective karma. You know, this seems to be the general theme these days. We've had so many of these quincunxes during the time of event charts, and this is just yet another one. And there's these big arrests looming on the horizon, hopefully. And with what's happening in the EU and the tremendous changes with regards to the immigration, and also in Yemen. I don't know if you've heard about this, but currently facing the worst humanitarian disaster in the world. Millions of people face death by starvation by the end of this year if something isn't done. And it's all because of this blockade being imposed by Saudi Arabia, with lots of help, unfortunately, from the United States of America. But I'm just trying to emphasize the tremendous vulnerability that people feel during this time. So last week we saw excellent progress in the fight against the deep state when, at the last pass of Mars square Uranus, the FISA documents were declassified, or at least Trump ordered the declassification of the FISA documents. But now congressional Democrats are telling the FBI and Department of Justice to defy Trump's order. Wow, intense power struggles on the horizon. Need to seek cover from the fallout. I would even say psychic protection is something that we all need now, because it's going to get that deep. And we're going to really need to psychically protect ourselves and isolate ourselves from the intense energies and struggles that are going to be coming out all over the place. Like, you know, in the EU, as I mentioned last week in the report, Pluto going stationary direct, basically right on top of their Uranus. And we see a massive increase in the police state, a lot of control energies coming down. Pluto's control energies on the population, the people. Uranus, the freedom of the people, is being repressed. And there's massive voter fraud in recent elections in Sweden. The polling for the Democrats, which over there in Sweden is the folks against unrestrained immigration, you know, they're polling at 30%, but they only get 17% of the vote. So there's just all this intense control energies happening, coincidental with this Pluto conjunct Uranus going stationary direct. And with regards to this Pluto direct period, been kind of looking forward to this one too, because this direct motion period is going to pull Pluto into the conjunction of Jupiter. That's going to be a really big time for China. A lot of transformation is going to be happening for them starting early next year. So I'll definitely go into that into more detail when the time arrives. But basically speaking, it's going to be a really intense Pluto direct period. Okay, so that's all for the aspects this week. And looking at Hillary Clinton, as I mentioned last week, on Wednesday of this week, she gets Jupiter squaring Saturn, 21 degrees of Scorpio to 21 degrees of Leo. So this is going to also, I should say, Jupiter conjunct Mercury on the same day. So Jupiter is going to amplify her natal Mercury square Saturn, make it seem bigger. Also, this is the aspect for which she is renowned. It's what makes her so mentally rigid, because it's close to her ascendant. So this should put her in the news, and it may coincide with a judgment or judicial action against her. That's what I'm hoping anyway. This aspect will sever her professional associations because it's a square from Jupiter to its native 9th house, which rules professional associations. In a sense, she gets kicked out of the club. She is forced to make many adjustments in her life, and she's going to desire to expand in new directions, but will be unable to do so. She will need to find her limitations once again, and it will be difficult for her to go through that process, especially at this point in her life and career. I think that a new conventional wisdom is in place, and a new judicial structure to go along with it. So for Hillary, this passage of Jupiter squaring planets in her 9th house has created a crisis unlike previous passes. And this Wednesday should be very telling. Big day for that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens and if the fight regarding the FISA documents is going to ultimately lead to her, because she's obviously the one who behind the scenes is trying to block the release of the FISA documents. As well, this guy Rod Rosenstein, he's mixed up in it all. You know, I mentioned last week that Neptune is going to be opposing his Uranus on Wednesday, same day as Hillary. But then I looked at his chart again, I noticed he's also getting Uranus trining his Venus and his Mercury. I went, wow, it's almost at the exact same time. Now that's an interesting mix. The Neptune transit certainly weakens him. His energy is kind of dissolving into the collective. And at this point, he probably now realizes he's been deceived as well. That usually happens eventually with the Neptune transits, especially since he's getting this Uranus trine Venus and Mercury. Now, usually those are nice transits that under normal circumstances brings a breath of fresh air to your life. New people and new ideas, new friendships and associations. You might think this would help him by bringing new allies into his life, but with the concurrent Neptune transit to his natal Uranus, this may simply be an outlet for that energy, for the energy of the Neptune transit. Maybe we hear what he has to say. He gets in the news in a really big way. He gets put on the top of the trending column on social media sites. Maybe lots of people come to support him, like they did for McCabe. You know, maybe they create a GoFundMe page like they did for him. Maybe that's how this whole thing manifests, because the Uranus trine Mercury comes a little bit later. We shall see. This week is a big one for him and Hillary. And what they have done together is basically the news of the day already. So let's hope that he gets put up on charges, or that the FISA memos really just get released, declassified, like we've all been hoping for. And I want to go into the transits for Donald Trump as well. So it's been a time of intense struggle as he recently ordered the declassification of the FISA documents, only to see members of Congress order the FBI and DOJ to defy the order, even though they must know that the president has the authority to order declassification on his own. So it's a real power struggle. What I see happening for him is a lot of Neptune transits this week. Transits to his natal Neptune, I should say. He's looking a bit indecisive, probably because of it. It will bring some challenges to defend his position with regards to these documents, but strangely, it may also help him as well, because Neptune is such a very big part of his whole political theme. Make America Great Again is all about recalling lost elements of yourself, and that's a very Neptunian thing. It's very central theme to his whole political life. And right now he's going through this ongoing struggle with Saturn squaring that natal Neptune. He's got one more pass. That'll be November the 11th. And certainly that's the main one to his natal Neptune. It's weakening him. It's bringing some doubt. It's forcing him to restructure his beliefs, possibly forced to sacrifice some of the things he has worked hard to gain. And this week, you'll see, on Tuesday, Mercury is going to conjunct his Neptune. Now, that's a great aspect for artistic expression, like writing poetry, but it's going to be hard to discern what is really on his mind and what he's really saying. He's going to be thinking and speaking on different levels. You know, the non-material plane comes into it, so it's going to be kind of unclear. And then on Wednesday, the Mercury squares Mercury, because he's got a Mercury square Neptune natally. And again, that's a big part of what he is about. It's what makes him talk so much. And so that's going to be a challenge to his beliefs, a test of his ideas. And again, lots of communication. This one, his nerves could get fried kind of easily. I'm thinking we could get a really interesting manifestation of this set of transits. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the Mercury square Saturn aspect. where we kind of feel a crisis to gain more information as if it were necessary for our very survival. Here we have a situation where he's getting Mercury square Mercury at a time, where we're also getting the Mercury square Saturn. So for him, it's a crisis to get information across as if it were necessary for his very survival. A crisis to communicate his belief. And that may result in a lot of tweets. And I've been looking at some of the reports on the alternative media about how Trump is testing a way of communicating directly with the people via tweets or some emergency broadcasting kind of a system and putting out notifications. And I'm thinking if that might be one of the manifestations here, because there's such a compulsion to make sure you get your point across. And maybe he will reveal information directly to the American people in this way. And overall, since, it's Mercury, which is your politics, and he's got a Mercury square Neptune that really gave him the MAGA theme, that Neptunian theme within his politics. And now we see Saturn squaring the Neptune and Mercury coming into play. It's like a crisis to communicate that MAGA theme that he has developed. And like I said, it'll just be a lot of communication coming from him this week. And then the Neptune transits continue. On Friday, the Sun is going to reach 5 degrees Libra, so he's going to get Sun conjunct Neptune. It's going to be much like the Mercury aspect. Makes him a bit dreamy, more aware of the non-material plane of existence. He may wax poetically this week, or make himself out to be the martyr, take on a real Neptunian quality to his image, a sacrificial figure, a victim who has been abused, which kind of goes along well with the revelations contained in the FISA documents, which shows that he really was the victim in the sense that the deep state illegally tried to derail his candidacy and then his presidency, both of which are very illegal. So that's kind of an interesting, addition to it all. He might become a martyr in some way, or cast himself in that way, and get a lot of sympathy from others. And also, the Mars trine Neptune, and that'll be on Sunday the 30th. So you'll see here Mars currently in early degrees of 3 degrees of Aquarius, will reach 5 degrees, and trine is Neptune at 5 degrees. And this is going to really dovetail into the whole Saturn trine Mars that we're getting on Thursday. Basically, the Saturn trine Mars sits right on top of that same Neptune. So you can kind of get an idea of the incredible confluence of energy surrounding Trump's Neptune this week. Now, the Mars trine Neptune, as you can imagine, it's a nice transit. It's a helpful one in the overall mix. Gives him a desire to follow his beliefs, although even though a Mars transit, not a high energy one, it still should help him out, as well as kind of connect all of us via this Sun trine Mars to what's going on with him, which could only benefit him, I think, because it's a nice aspect. And we get that abundance of intellectual energy when, the Mars is giving lots of energy to the air trine. So it's a bunch of Neptune transits for Trump this week. Typically, we might predict some confusion on his part, but Neptune transits have two rather distinct ways of manifesting, kind of depending on how you handle the energy. Instead of confusion, it could be that he expresses himself rather eloquently and poetically, and has a moment where Neptune kind of expands his boundary around the whole world. He kind of becomes universal, and he reaches everyone. With his natal Mercury square Neptune, he just says what he believes, and that seems to be really working for him. He's going to be doing a lot of that this week, communicating to the masses, because Neptune has no boundaries. It's like it could be worldwide kind of a thing. Helping him considerably is the Sun trine Mars. It's going to be right on his Neptune, so we all experience that aspect kind of through what he's doing. The energetic conversations that aspect is going to bring to all of us are going to likely center around what Trump is doing. Really create a a larger-than-life figure out of him. Overall, a really big week for Trump in the news. And as he heads into next week, on Monday, he's going to get, Sun is going to come into the squares Mercury, and then Mercury is going to conjunct his Jupiter there in Libra. So it's going to be continuing next week. But this week, it's all Neptune for him. Could be quite interesting. So, thanks for watching. That's all for this week. You can check out my website. I haven't been adding anything to that lately. I've been really busy with this stuff, but more stuff is coming this fall. I have a lot of wonderful additions now that I am a medical Reiki master and I've gone through all of that training. I'm going to have a little bit more time to devote to that website. And I want to say thanks to all of my subscribers and my supporters. If you're interested in donating, you'll find donation buttons for Patreon and PayPal in the lower right-hand corner of the flower image on my channel homepage. You can follow me on Twitter, TomJordan364. And you can always contact me if you're interested in a natal or transit reading. I'm available for consultations on a regular monthly basis using astrology as a tool for life coaching. In addition, I'm a Reiki master, as I've been mentioning, and if you're interested in a long-distance Reiki healing or a psychic reading, please contact me at mobilestar7.com at Yahoo. mobilestar7 at yahoo.com, or my weblog, where I post the transcript of these weekly videos. Links will be in the description. Well, that's all this week for weekly astrology notes. Once again, thanks for viewing, liking, and sharing my video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Many blessings, and have a great day.